August 20th, I get a phone call from Bruce, and he tells me that his wife, Jana, has been missing since that morning. And did I know where she was? I was a very close friend, almost like a sister to Jana. And I said, no, I haven't seen her. I have no idea where she could be. I said, Bruce, is there anything I can do for you? And he broke into sobs and said, you can tell me where my wife is.
The LA County Sheriff's Department is the best of the best.
Some of the highest profile cases are tried in Los Angeles.
You have to be dedicated 110%.
This is murder. There's no more serious crime.
It boils down to a passion and a sense of duty.
Justice comes from finding the truth.
On August 20th, 2001, Bruce Coolidge called Lakewood Sheriff's Station to make a missing persons report on his wife, Jana.
Bruce said, we have a real estate office at north end of Long Beach, and Jana was supposed to, come to the office. And I don't know where she is. Bruce and Jana, they had a real estate business in Bixby Knolls.
The office in the city of Long Beach was not far from the port and not far from their residence in Lakewood.
The next day on Tuesday, August 21st, Bruce has indicated Jana's not here, she hasn't returned, so there's a heightened interest as to where is she? What has happened to her?
We all, sat around wringing our hands trying to figure out what could have happened. Bruce was a wreck. He was sitting there on the couch just with his head in his hands, just bawling like a baby, and he gave us as much details as he could, that, the car was missing, and that he was trying to think of things that he could do, where he could start searching, could hire helicopters, could employ teams of searchers.
I know as a missing persons investigator, 99.9% of the people return within 24 hours.
There's a number of things that law enforcement is looking into after the first 24 hours, when it becomes more likely that something may have happened to them besides just running away. Could they be a victim of a crime? Could she have been carjacked? Could it have been an accident?
We checked the hospitals and checked for traffic accidents, so we knew that it probably wasn't that. I was tasked to go to the Coolidge residence, and so I decided to call in a homicide team because it is going to take a lot more time to investigate. And one of the investigators was Karen Shanka.
When I was a young girl and trying to think of what I wanted to do, I thought, I want to be a police officer so I can drive around and speed everywhere. I was hired by the LA County Sheriff's Department in 1986. Being a woman in law enforcement in the mid-'80s was a little difficult. I felt like at times I had to prove myself. I would go above and beyond what a male deputy or detective would have to do. I would just really want to work my cases and make sure that I was doing a phenomenal job.
Karen worked her ass off. God bless her for it, and she wasn't gonna let anybody stop her from doing what her dreams were.
Bruce and Jana had a home in Lakewood, just north of Long Beach, which was on a golf course. Beautiful home. Once we arrived at the Coquelicge home, we spoke with Bruce.
Bruce told me that on Monday morning, he gave Jana a kiss goodbye at around 6 a.m. They were partners at a real estate agency, and typically Jana would arrive at the office at 9 or 9:30 a.m.
10, maybe 10:30, Bruce said, I asked around with the other real estate agents, where's my wife? And they said, well, she hasn't come in yet.
Bruce and Jana have a business partner, Chris Bodasson, that was at the office, and Chris decided to go with Bruce to the home to find out if Jana was there.
Her car is gone, her purse is gone, cell phone is gone. Even the alarm on the house was on, so he was kind of suspicious. Where could she have gone?
This is a missing adult. You have to look at all the possibilities. Maybe she ran away. Maybe there's an extramarital affair that was occurring. You have to investigate all that stuff.
What's their mental state? Are they on medication? Those kind of things can tell us where she's at. And in this case, something just doesn't seem right, seems kind of suspicious.
Bruce told me that on Friday night, Jana had gone to a concert with her friend, Nini, and that Jana had probably arrived home after midnight.
Bruce said that he and Jana wanted to have a mellow, chill weekend, just the two of them.
On Monday, Bruce said his wife has disappeared and no one has been able to determine what has happened to her.
It's just, completely out of character for her. It's, like she just disappeared off the face of the earth.
Bruce gave us a consent to search the home and to look around for any clues that we may find. We were going through trash cans. We were going through everything in that house to try and figure out what happened with Jana. I remember going through their answering machine at their home. I was writing down the caller ID information.
Bruce did say they didn't want to answer any phone calls for the weekend because Jana was still disturbed about this unknown male voice that was leaving messages on their answering machine.
Bruce asked him, would you listen to this tape recording? It sounds like somebody threatening.
It was directed to Jana. It was a male's voice, and it says, "You know me, you need to call me." Bruce said that he and Jana both found it very disturbing that they did not recognize the voice.
We've had most of our acquaintances listening to it, and nobody can identify it.
We even asked who would want to hurt her. Did she have enemies? Bruce said because of Jana's father, someone may have abducted Jana.
Jana was Jana Carpenter Coquelicge. Her father was a state senator, a very prominent politician in the state of California. Jana's father, State Senator Carpenter, was very popular with the community. However, he got mixed up in some criminal activity later on in his political career, and he got prosecuted for it. And he even went to prison. 2 years before Jana's disappearance, he was released. So there was a lot of attention by the media that this must have something to do with her disappearance. Could there be some type of revenge for all the actions that he had done through his political career?
This unknown male voice that was leaving messages could be the possible kidnapper.
Bruce let us know that they do have repo property in gang areas throughout LA County. Jana may have gone over there and was abducted around there.
That was Jana's job at times, to go out and collect the rent. So she had a gun. She was afraid that somebody might try to rob her when she was trying to collect the money.
That adds another level to the investigation. In many cases, if people aren't willing to use a gun, it can be easily taken from them and used against them.
She's been missing for a day, which is very unlike her. She's a very prompt and professional woman that I love most deeply and hope to have her returned as soon as possible.
Bruce's demeanor was very forthwith. He wanted to give us the information that we needed.
Bruce said they had been married for 11 years and they were in a very loving marriage.
Bruce and Jana had similar goals in life and started building a real estate business together that was really very, very successful.
They were really tied to their business, but they were enjoying their life. I could tell she loved him.
Bruce and Jana spent a lot of time together, almost all their time together. They never made decisions without consulting each other, and they always talked about where they were going and how they were going to get there.
We sat up last night very late trying to figure out motivation. Why would anybody do this?
We definitely have the clock ticking. Jana may have been abducted, and we've already lost time because she could be in distress somewhere. So we want the media to get her picture out there, picture of her car, the license plate. We need the public's help to try and find Jana Koklich.
We figure if we find the car, more than likely we'll find Jana.
We fully expected there would be a ransom note or something to let us know that she was still alive, and we continued to hold on to that hope.
Time goes by. Jana doesn't come home. Jana doesn't call. Nothing. And the police are interviewing people.
Nothing became of the political theory. With Jana's father, it was checked out and cleared. But a name that came up while we were interviewing Bruce Koklich was Chris Bodison. Bruce said he came home with Chris while he was looking for Jana. Chris was a business partner of Jana and Bruce's in a software company that they were just starting.
I think there was a situation where something happened between him and Jana. Bruce never really told me anything about that, but it just became apparent in the couple of times I saw them all together that Jana wasn't really enamored by this guy. She wasn't really happy with him.
Chris, being a partner of Bruce and Jana, he would benefit from Jana's disappearance.
In this business, if Jana is eliminated, Chris gets a bigger piece of the pie.
The cops told us maybe Chris had something to do with it, and then we heard that he left town.
So that, all of a sudden, was like a red flag to the sheriff's department.
We were able to locate Chris Bodison and confirm an alibi for that weekend where he was hanging out with a girlfriend. Chris Bodison was eventually cleared as a suspect. We did speak with Jana's friend, Nini. She said that Jana seemed happy on Friday night, that Jana didn't want to stay up late that night. She only had a half a glass of wine at the Eric Clapton concert because she had to get up early the next day for a gym appointment with Dean, her personal trainer. Dean told me that he had been training her one-on-one for the last 4 or 5 years. She never missed an appointment, and she was never late, ever.
Every Saturday morning, around 7 o'clock, they would go jogging down by the beach. The detectives wondered, could there have been maybe a romantic relationship?
She's starting to really change her outward image. She had had her teeth done. She had lost weight.
Jana shared one of her personal training days with a good girlfriend of hers, Connie. And Connie said that there was no sexual tension or anything between Dean and Jana. Everything was very professional. Jana was just very obsessed with her workouts. We verified his story and checked his alibi, and he was cleared as a suspect. There was nothing going on between Dean and Jana.
As well as I knew Jana, there was no possibility that she had gone off with some other lover. It just wasn't possible that this was something of her own doing. Something definitely had happened to her.
Dean relayed to me that Jana missed the appointment on Saturday at 7 o'clock in the morning. He said he called the house phone, no answer. He called her cell phone, no answer. He was very surprised that she didn't show up.
She also had a scheduled massage appointment on Saturday at 2 p.m. with Nene.
Nene said, Jana did not show up. And even as the weekend went on, she tried to contact her, but got no answer.
Nene made calls to Bruce's voicemail. There was never any answer from Jana or Bruce. That definitely set up a red flag. I did ask Bruce, why would Jana not answer those phone calls? And he just says, you know, we just wanted to blow everything off for the weekend. They are professional real estate agents, and I found that very strange that they wouldn't answer phone calls.
Investigating these type of missing persons cases, you want all the information you can get. Housekeepers can be very informative. They see what's going on. They're kind of the quiet eyes around a house.
I talked to the housekeeper. Her name was Consuelo. She said her routine was every Tuesday, she would change the bedding in the master bedroom.
She said that when she made the bed the week prior, it was a white and black sheet with some cursive writing on it.
There were messages on the sheets, happiness, love, and, you know, beautiful messages. But on Tuesday, the 21st, when I see the bed, it was not the same sheets.
The sheets that she had put on the previous Tuesday were gone. And now there was only a full-size flat sheet on the bed. And the bed is a queen size.
In the 9 years I worked for the Cockledge, they never changed the sheets. I'm the one who do it every Tuesday. They never do that.
And she added that the sheets were nowhere to be found in the house. Not in the washer, not in any of the other rooms. So she was very concerned about that. She also pointed out a towel was missing from the bathroom. One of the pillows was also missing. This was very unusual.
There was a theory that Jana was abducted from her bed by the anonymous male calling for Jana at the home. But Bruce told us there was no signs of forced entry. All the doors were locked, the alarm was activated, everything looked secure in the home.
It has to be somebody who knew Jana or knew of her, I feel, because they had to be aware of her movements and the fact that Bruce had left the house.
We had no leads in her disappearance. And then on the 27th of August, we received a phone call that Jana's 96 Pathfinder was located off California Street in Signal Hill. And this is huge information for us in this case. The initial view of Jana's Pathfinder, we weren't able to find her purse or her gun or her cell phone in there. However, we did check the cargo area of her Pathfinder, and we were able to see a feather in the back. The feather in the back cargo area was really important based on her pillow missing from her bed. And then we found what appeared to be a large blood stain. Working a missing persons case, when you find a significant amount of blood somewhere, that's where you kind of cross the line that, okay, this is not good.
She's a very sweet, friendly girl. No reason for anybody to do this.
There's a little chance they may find her alive, but I'm prepared for whatever happens. I got to know, get some closure.
Now you go into recovery mode. Where is she? Where's her body? We need to find her. A search team was created of about 140 people to search the petroleum fields.
If you do discover something, we need you to back away from it and don't touch anything.
Jana's car was found right next to the Signal Hill oil wells. And all that area, there's a lot of giant, big, deep holes that were dug when they were trying to explore for oil.
We were out there for quite a while, and nothing was found.
It was very disappointing because we wanted to bring closure to the family. Now we have to start from ground zero.
We still didn't have a body, and the truth of the matter is we're homicide detectives. As far as the no body case, they're extremely difficult to prove in the state of California.
We were able to secure another search warrant on the house and conducted a luminol examination. There was a drop of blood found in the master bedroom on the carpet near the bed. We got DNA samples for Jana from her hairbrush.
The several spots of blood that were found in the bedroom and that blood that was in the back of the Pathfinder matched Jana's DNA.
Evidence is still being put together, but with that amount of blood in the back of her Pathfinder would lead anybody to believe she's been murdered and her body was placed back there at some point. I think that we could classify this from a critical missing over to a homicide.
At this point in our investigation, her husband, Bruce, was the only one that had access to her.
Bruce was the last person that saw her alive, and that really has no other alibi other than he was alone with her over the weekend. So now we're starting to focus on Bruce, her husband.
Well, from the detective standpoint, Bruce is claiming Jana was alive and with him the entire weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning. And then they talk to Bruce and say, would you be willing to do a polygraph? We just want to verify your story. And Bruce said, that's fine.
He asked investigators if he could preview the questions beforehand. It's not our policy to provide those questions.
He's been given a lot of advice by a lot of friends in the law field and even law enforcement, and has heard all kinds of horror stories about how they use tricky questions.
He had an attorney, and the attorney advised him, no, he shouldn't do a polygraph.
Bruce was frantic about doing something. He couldn't just sit there and not do anything.
I'm doing whatever I can to get my wife back.
I know that he called the TV stations and made an appeal.
My name is Bruce Koklich, and I'm currently looking for my wife of 11 years, and I'm offering a $100,000 reward for her return. The $100,000 reward still stands. I want my wife back. Whatever it takes to get her back, I'm willing to do it.
Bruce had come out and gave interviews. And as time went by, there were several ladies who saw those interviews and contacted the sheriff's department. They indicated that Bruce contacted them about maybe going out on a date. There was a lady at the bank. Bruce came up and said, would you be willing to go out to dinner with me? She didn't think much of it until she saw the TV interview that his wife was missing. There was another lady who worked at an escrow office. She didn't want to have anything to do with it. And then there was one of the neighbors, and she got a note on her windshield, and it said from Bruce College, would your granddaughter be willing to go out with me? And she thought, that's kind of strange. Why would he put a note like that wanting to meet my granddaughter?
Right before and after Jana's disappearance, he's asking all these women out, and they all turned him down because of his creep factor.
Bruce was interested in going out with other women while he's giving TV interviews, how much he misses his wife and he would do anything to have his loving wife back. What is going on here? This is not a grieving spouse.
This looks suspicious. It's starting to get a little more concerning.
As the investigators got deeper into this case, they found out from friends, relatives, that Jana was dissatisfied with her life.
Jana told me that they were going to adopt. She wanted a family so bad. They had already filled out the papers, and we were both real excited. One day she shows up for dinner, maybe a month or so before she disappears. And I said something about how's the adoption going, and she said to me, there will be no adoption. Now I'm wondering if maybe it was something else with her and Bruce. I just could never see Bruce adopting a child, because it definitely would take Jana away from the business if she had become a mom.
Was Jana tired of the domination of Bruce, who was always there telling her, we've got to make more money, work harder?
Control was very important to Bruce. He had to control the business situation. He had to control personal relationships. That's how he was built.
We learned that Bruce Kuklich has a long history of asking women out, making rude comments to women, grabbing women, doing certain things. Obviously, that's a problem in a marriage.
He was womanizing well. He was married. Jana knew about some of it.
We don't know exactly what was going on in Jana's mind, but we know she was trying to improve herself, make herself more independent, where she could go out on her own if she wanted to. Looking for a new life, something different.
I believe that she may have threatened him with divorce.
If Jana said, we're done, you don't want the same things I want, I can see Bruce not being able to handle that well. He was very ambitious and very much money-driven and goal-driven.
If they get a divorce, then he would have to share half of everything.
I honestly believe that he killed her over money. He just didn't want to part with it.
We learned Bruce and Jana both held $1 million life policies.
She most likely has been killed for financial gain.
During that time, we were able to speak to a couple of the neighbors that said early Saturday morning, they heard what sounded like arguing between a man and a woman, and the other one described it as maybe moving heavy furniture. I mean, this picture just keeps getting brighter and brighter as it goes on. A call came in that a witness saw what they believed to be a white Pathfinder parked in front of a home there on California Street in Signal Hill. But they weren't sure. It was Jana's car.
A person said that they saw the car parked there the Sunday before she's reported missing. They looked, and it was a white person with a white dress shirt on, and he's just sitting there in the alley, and it seemed suspicious to this individual. Well, the sheriff's department thought, could it be Bruce?
We put together 3 separate 6-packs or mug show up folders. One that had Bruce in it, one that had Dean, the personal trainer, and the other one had the business partner, Chris Bodison. This witness looked at all 3 different folders and picked out the one where Bruce was identified as being that person in that car.
That put Bruce in that area on a Sunday when he said that he and his wife were home alone. Bruce wanted somebody else to be blamed for his wife's disappearance, and it appeared that he purposely took her car, put it in a very poor neighborhood with the keys in the ignition, with the windows down, just hoping and praying that somebody would take it, make it appear that somebody else had kidnapped or carjacked Jana.
Signal Hill is just north of Long Beach. The Cochliches had some of their apartment complexes in the area. We were able to get some information from some residents in Signal Hill who said they saw the neighborhood kids getting in Jana's car, taking the car for joyrides around the neighborhood and parked in a garage. It was becoming apparent not only to us, but family members and friends of Jana who were starting to have their doubts about Bruce.
I had trust in Bruce and had no reason to not believe everything that he had told us up to this point. Now I had to look at everything and I had to think, was my trust misplaced? Is there actually a lot more that's going on that Bruce isn't telling me? Is there another side to him that I didn't know existed and I didn't think was possible?
We put together a timeline of the 18th and 19th of August. According to Bruce, 12:30-ish, Jana returns from the concert. Early Saturday morning, neighbors across the street heard arguing between a man and a woman.
When the detectives were asking more questions with Bruce as to where were you guys, all weekend long, Bruce had told them, Saturday, we read some books, we watched some television, and then on Sunday, we walked around, and we talked to some of the people in the neighborhood. When the detectives talked to those neighbors, the neighbors said, we never saw them. But Bruce kept coming by and asking, remember, I talked to you on Sunday, remember? And they said, no, we didn't.
We weren't able to corroborate anything that Bruce said. He didn't even remember what they were wearing.
Bruce Cochlich was planting a seed that somebody out there had it in for Jana.
He was always directing the investigation right from the beginning. He thought it was a carjacking, it was a kidnapping, or it was that person on the voicemail. All those things have to be looked into, and they were, but they were all excluded.
Bruce had a motive Bruce is the only one.
Bruce had a lot to gain from Jana's death. The potential $1 million life insurance policy and all the properties and that beautiful home that they had right there on the golf course.
If he was able to avoid divorce, he would get all of it.
Do police consider you a suspect in this case?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm doing whatever I can to get my wife back.
Bruce didn't have any characteristics of grieving. His wife is missing, and he's going out trying to meet women and trying to have sexual relations with them.
It seemed like Bruce wanted to be single. Bruce wanted to be the real estate mogul, the guy with the money and the property, and Jana was in the way. So he came up with a plan to get rid of and murder his wife.
I believe that Bruce killed his wife early Saturday morning.
Bruce wraps her body up in the sheets with the pillowcase or towel and moves her body into the back of the Pathfinder, which was in the garage at the time. For the amount of blood that was in the back of her Pathfinder, it could be purge. A body starts purging as it's starting to decompose. So I'm wondering, did he keep her in the garage Saturday and Sunday? And then moves her body, dumps it somewhere in between their home and Signal Hill, because Sunday night, the Pathfinder's seen in Signal Hill with him in the driver's seat. And then he walks home the 4 miles to Lakewood. The whole team did a great job of clearing any other possibility. All roads lead to Bruce Coklage.
When you add up all of those really significant, incriminating things, it was enough evidence for the DA's office to file an arrest warrant.
Once we learned that Bruce had been arrested for Jana's murder, all those little pieces finally kind of fell into place for me and my wife. And we were saddened to have to think that, Bruce did have something to do with it.
There's a lot of circumstantial evidence that suggests that Bruce isn't innocent.
I thought, this is great. He'll just sit in jail until, his trial comes. But boy, was I wrong. He got out on $1 million bail.
I love my wife. I hope that she's found, and I'm most wholeheartedly not guilty.
After many months, almost a year, we got to trial. To get a conviction, we're going to have to prove he is the one that caused her disappearance by killing her. But the problem is, our best evidence, meaning a dead body, we don't have.
As far as the search for the body, it's ongoing.
This case was an eye-opener for all of us because nobody really had a no-body case. There wasn't too many of those that they were getting convictions on.
We were stuck with circumstantial evidence. It's a major task for the prosecutor to convince all 12 jurors there is no reasonable doubt. The danger in no-body cases, there's always a doubt. Jana had a $1 million life insurance policy. Bruce could collect on the life insurance. The prosecution needed to prove that there was a financial motive.
The prosecution had a lot of good witnesses that wanted to come in and testify on behalf of Jana.
It was my responsibility to do it. She was the sweetest lady in the world. She doesn't deserve this. And when I see Bruce, he was not nervous at all.
Bruce wanted to testify, which was kind of a surprise. Most of the time when a defendant takes the witness stand, they will do more harm to their case than benefit. However, the defense put on a strong case.
There is absolutely no motive, either personal between the two of them or monetarily, as has been suggested.
Bruce Koklich testified that he and his wife had a good relationship. His legal team displayed photographs of the couple's vacations. They also showed the jury birthday and anniversary cards the pair had exchanged over the course of their marriage.
He painted a different picture of what was going on. And the question was the jury going to buy it?
As a detective, you always feel like I put this picture together and they're going to judge it. And all it takes is one person to not like it. There goes your case.
After all the evidence was presented, the judge read the instructions to the jury and they went into the jury room to deliberate. It was one day and nothing happened. Another day, another day, another day, and it went on and on.
When it goes beyond a day or two, I would start to worry. On this case, the jury deliberated for 6 days.
There was 7 for guilty and 5 for not guilty. They could not come to a unanimous verdict. The judge declared a mistrial and it was declared a hung jury.
It's hard to swallow, especially knowing that we had 7 that believed what we presented.
I couldn't believe that Bruce got away with it. He killed Jana, and he gets to walk.
The DA's office had to take a serious look at it, and then it was decided we could do it again. But we're going to have to take another approach. I was asked to come in and create what was called a visual trial, where we would present all that circumstantial evidence in a slideshow. We would have charts. We're not going to emphasize killing Jana for the life insurance. We were going to concentrate on the timeline, the sheets, the setting up of the car. All of that pointed to Bruce's guilt.
At the end of the trial, when the jurors went in to deliberate, I felt very good.
The jury was out for only several hours. It was less than a half a day, and they rang the buzzer, meaning they had a verdict. And the jury came out, and the jury verdict was read. Bruce Koklich was found guilty.
I remember I sat there and cried. It was a culmination of everything.
Now we can plan a memorial for Jana, and I just wish that we could have gotten him to tell what he had done with her.
The perpetrator has family too, and their, disappointment and shame. There's really no reason why Jana had to die.
It is especially devastating not to know where her body is, so that we could have the comfort of a final goodbye to her.
Bruce, you took away your wife who loved you. You took away all that Jana was and could have been. You took away a daughter. You took away a niece and a cousin. You took away her father's will to live, and the only thing that gave him comfort.
You'll be imprisoned in the state prison system for the term prescribed by law, which is 15 years to life.
When the judge pronounced what Bruce's sentence was going to be, he turned around and just looked at me and said, "Don't worry about me, I'll be okay." And they handcuffed him and walked him off.
He's an egotistical manipulator and thought that he could charm his way out of this somehow, and it just didn't work.
Bruce could not outsmart bulldog homicide detectives.
Everybody has a lot of pride working homicide. You know, you get a case and you're gonna work that case, you're not gonna let go.
Even though I still communicate with Bruce, I don't have any sympathy for him and his situation. But I can't punish him any more than he's already being punished. I really do feel for Jana, her mother and her father, not knowing whatever happened to their daughter, and that's very sad, and that breaks my heart.
I miss Jana every single day. Still hurts. She was a lovely person. Yes, I miss her very much. I'm sorry.
Being able to put this puzzle together and then take it to court for 12 people to look at it and for them to unanimously agree with what myself and my team put together. It's so rewarding to be able to do that.
As I look back and reflect on it, now that I'm no longer a homicide detective, I've only been retired 32 days now, so it's kind of, after 42 years, I'm wrapping my head around it still.
Yeah, I was very depressed when I left Sheriff's Homicide. It's like leaving my family. I miss the excitement, you know, the challenge of solving a case, so I thought about it a year and I just had to go back.
I just couldn't handle retiring. I cried. I did. I mean, I was just so conflicted with leaving, and I didn't feel it in my heart.
Karen Shankar retired, but decided to go back to work. She's a workaholic. Crazy girl went back.
There's a very small percentage of people that come to Sheriff's Homicide Bureau and stay there for let's say more than a decade. And I think that takes a special person to see and deal with the trauma that we deal with.
There is no other job like ours. Even law enforcement, in particular, working homicide. I think that's where it becomes a family.
You gotta remember, in that room, there's different ideologies. There's different religions, there's different races, there's different political parties, if you will. But you come together for the job.
You were a small part of something much bigger.
It's a whole shitload of responsibility on your shoulders, but it is kind of fucking cool, right?
Right.
To show up and you're the shot caller, big baller.
I would say if I missed one thing, it was the people that I worked with and the fun that we had and the time to get serious and the time to play.
Deep down inside, you always will be a cop and you'll always be a detective.
If I had to go back and do it over again and I was 25 or 30 years old again and I knew, okay, this is what's ahead of you the next 35 years, I wouldn't change a goddamn thing. Not a thing. I wouldn't change anything. It was the greatest ride of my life.
Here is Irene Brunel, 95 years old, and her husband Michelle, 91 years old. These retired people have already experienced many trials, but the one they are about to experience today, and the most terrible of their long existence, is the trial of the murderer of their son, Jean-Marc Brunel. And the presumed murderer would be none other than their eldest son, Dominique Brunel. This story will plug you into the heart of an extraordinary criminal case that blew up a whole family. The story of Jean-Marc on the left and Dominique on the right. Two brothers who opposed everything and who maintained relationships that were at least tense. This case is horrible. This act is horrible. He's going to grab the iron bar and he's going to stab his brother. This story is really about Abel and Cain, the beloved son, the rejected son. He knew very well that if he killed his brother, he would kill me. It's terrible what he did. Terrible. It all began in October 2015 at Châteauneuf-du-Pape, very close to Avignon. Dominique Brunel, 62 years old, is housed in this beautiful villa in the heart of the village. She belongs to her younger brother, Jean-Marc Brunel, who went on vacation abroad for 2 weeks. But on October 27th, Dominique Brunel calls his retired parents, who live in southern Spain, in Alicante. He explains to them that his brother did not return from his trip as planned. And he is worried. Maybe they have an explanation. He told us, "Yes, I don't understand, because I went to the airport in Marseille to look for him, and he wasn't there." He tells them that, indeed, he was supposed to return on October 25th, and it's the 27th, and still nothing. He's not there. He didn't return. That's when I told him, so, if Jean-Marc doesn't return, there's a problem, there's something wrong. Michel Brunel, the father of the two men, is immediately alarmed. Because Jean-Marc is a business leader who takes few holidays and assumes only the management of his company. He would never have extended his stay without warning his customers. He has responsibilities within a cheese business, and we must be able to join him all the time. But here, he is not joinable. Even more worrying, during all the duration of his holidays, Jean-Marc did not give any news of him. Not even to his parents, whom he is very close to. On the phone with Dominique, his eldest son, Michel asks him to act as soon as possible. And I told him, go to the police station in Châteauneuf and declare the disappearance of your brother. Which he did. He went there, and he said that his brother should return on such a day, and that he did not return. But then, Jean-Marc is an adult, so the police have no reason to open an investigation. To the great despair of his parents. Is the anguish of the parents justified? Did something really happen to their 57-year-old son? You will see that despite his age, Jean-Marc had never really cut the cord with them. And that this unexplained absence marks the beginning of a long calvary for Irene and Michel Brunel. It is in the city of the Angles, very close to Avignon, that Jean-Marc lived a happy childhood next to his big brother Dominique. He became a young man, far from leaving the family cocoon, and he continues to be mocked by his mother. Until the age of 30, he was with them. Yes, that's true. He had his room, his TV, a wardrobe, and everything. And it was great. He wanted to leave, he left. He wanted to leave on a weekend, he left. I never asked him anything. He had the keys, he left. At the age of 30, Jean-Marc finally took his independence and moved to an apartment in Avignon. But for this son of a mother, it is out of the question to have good home-cooked meals. He came to eat with parents every day at noon, that's for sure. And once a day, he brought his supper. It was the old age stick of his parents. The son adored it. The mother said, "Fortunately, we have Jean-Marc." The father said, "Jean-Marc is here. As soon as we need him, he arrives." Even he postpones appointments. He was affectionate, he took care of them. But here it is. By staying in his mother's skirts, Jean-Marc Brunel has become what is called an eternal celibate. And his status as an old boy did not fail to make the family jazzy. Everyone said to me, "It's not possible, Jean-Marc doesn't get married, he's not normal, he's not. Oh la la, leave him, he doesn't want to, leave him alone. One day he will want to go out with a girl, he will go out, and that's it." And precisely, at the age of 45, Jean-Marc Brunel finally meets a woman who will make his heart beat. It's Bernadette. Bernadette is someone very simple, playful, open-minded, so we got along right away. They didn't live together, but they saw each other every weekend. They went on vacation together. So, for 11 years, she was Jean-Marc Brunel's companion. Turtles make love. And for the first time in his life, Jean-Marc envisions a future with a woman. He even introduced her to his parents, an event that Michelle Brunel is not going to forget. That's where he came from. He introduced her to us in Spain. We accepted her with pleasure. He seemed to be happy with this person, with Bernadette. So it was really the first person with whom Jean-Marc had decided to live their lives together. Jean-Marc had even planned to make the big leap. A marriage was announced a few months later. Now, his sudden disappearance seems really incomprehensible, and nothing, a priori, seems to be able to explain it. Except that Jean-Marc, the model brother, may not be as exemplary as that. It is his older brother, Dominique, who will soon confess to the police. It is 6 p.m. on October 27, 2015, when the investigators come to question Dominique Brunel, who still lives with his missing brother. They ring, and it is Dominique Brunel who opens, and they just have a few questions to develop a little bit in relation to his visit a few hours earlier. In the tone of confidence, Dominique Brunel will then reveal that his brother Jean-Marc actually left for Ukraine, and for a very specific reason. A reason very far from his image of a nice boy. Dominique reassures them, telling them, "Listen, my brother went to Ukraine. My parents are not necessarily aware of what he is doing there. He has relations with young girls in Ukraine. He goes to dating sites, he goes to Ukrainian escort girl sites, and he talks regularly with women there." Jean-Marc, the family's sweetie, who was finally going to get married, would actually lead a double life with young women from the East. And Dominique, the older brother, has proof. He presents to the gendarmes the dowry for the trip to Ukraine. And besides, according to him, his brother went there very regularly. The previous summer, in July, he was there, and the dowry actually shows a planned trip, at least for this month, to Odessa. So, would Jean-Marc Brunel have met a Ukrainian on an escort site that would have made him want to leave everything? Isn't it a refusal of obstacles just before marriage? Like a kind of escape, saying, "But I'm completely crazy. I'm 57 years old. I'm not going to get married at 57. Back at the gendarmerie, the investigators decide to do a few additional checks. They first look at the bank account of Jean-Marc Brunel. And the surprise. On October 16, 2015, the day of his departure to Ukraine, some funny bank movements were recorded. The gendarmerie then discovers that on October 16th, Jean-Marc Brunel asked to close his accounts, his savings accounts, so the life insurance, the housing plan, and to transfer it to his current accounts. It would seem that Jean-Marc suddenly needed liquid money. So would this money have served him to make his life in Ukraine again? Or more seriously, would he have put himself in a risky situation in this dangerous country? What could have happened there? Did he fall into a trap? Are we trying to extort money from him? Did he actually meet the wrong person? What could have happened? As the gendarmes are about to embark on the Ukrainian runway, they carry out a final check on Jean-Marc's flight to Odessa. The gendarmes will therefore make inquiries to the French airlines, several, to different French airports. And there we discover that Jean-Marc has never embarked on any flight and that he does not appear on any list of passengers. Jean-Marc Brunel has actually never left, neither for Ukraine nor for any other country. So why would Dominique have deliberately lied to the investigators? Is he involved in the disappearance of his brother? The gendarmes must absolutely know more about this mysterious brother, and they are not surprised. The investigators then inquire about the Brunel Brotherhood to find out what their relationship was like. And they will discover that in this family there was Jean-Marc, the model son, and Dominique, the son with a problem. At this time, in architecture, he dreams of becoming a business leader and launches several companies without much success. Dominique was not made to do business. He gave us the proof at the same time by creating companies that all ended badly because he was not a manager, not at all. Dominique, a bad manager who, according to his parents, would live far above his means. When he worked a little, he earned €4, he spent it right away. He is attracted by everything that has money. He loves beautiful things and he loves to enjoy it. Who loves money? And at the age of 45, married and father of 2 children, Dominique, in debt, decides to leave France to go back to zero. Hitting Venezuela, in South America. He embarks with him his family. But in the son, happiness will be short-lived. His companion will explain to me that she did not want to do it, that she did it for Dominique and that she is not happy in South America. So she will come back with the children. After his divorce, Dominique does not give up. He moves to Panama and settles there. And despite the distance, he stays close to his brother Jean-Marc, his cadet. He regularly hosts him when he returns to France to see his children. He will spend holidays in France regularly, once or twice a year. And each time, he stays at his brother Jean-Marc's. They have a good relationship. And he even has his room at Jean-Marc's. But then, if the 2 brothers are so close, how is it that Dominique lied to the police? Remember, the elder told that Jean-Marc had gone on vacation for 15 days. But in reality, he never took the plane for Ukraine. So, does this lie hide a terrible truth? Would Dominique Brunel be at the origin of the disappearance of his little brother? On October 28th, the investigators decided to return to the villa of Châteauneuf-du-Pape in order to ask Dominique to explain himself. And there, when they arrive in front of the gate, Jean-Marc's gray Golf is no longer there. And the house is closed. He finds the door closed. Visibly, Dominique left in the middle of the night. Obviously, Dominique Brunel left behind the wheel of his brother's car. Taken aback, the police immediately launched a search to find as soon as possible the gray Golf and its driver. And luckily, the results were not to be expected. The vehicle was flashed the night before, in excessive speed, on the motorway towards the Spanish border. The car, the gray Golf, was found in Madrid, on the airport parking in Madrid, Terminal 1. The French gendarmes will request the exploitation of the airport's video surveillance. And on the surveillance footage, we will see Dominique Brunel with his suitcase, boarding a flight for Panama. Investigators' suspicions against the Brunel's elder are confirmed. Dominique simply fled. An international search warrant was then issued against her. And you will see that a new witness will give a particularly disturbing turn to this investigation. At the police station, Jean-Marc Brunel's housekeeper is heard. It is Sarah. And here's what she tells us. 15 days earlier, at the time of her boss Sarah, who, like all Tuesday afternoons, does the housework at Jean-Marc's, notices something abnormal. She realizes that things have disappeared and have been changed in the house. The carpet has disappeared. The dresser is missing. A mirror is missing. She has the impression that the sofas have been changed. Sarah also says she was surprised by the attitude of her boss brother, who was present in the house. Dominique Brunel, while he is a guest at Jean-Marc's, behaves as if he were the owner of the place. She notices that Dominique is installed behind Jean-Marc's office doing his paperwork. She has the impression that he has changed his boss. She has the impression that he has taken his brother's place. But it is in the office that Sarah will make one of the most disturbing discoveries. She will discover something that will really worry her. It is that, on her employer's office, she will discover her 3 bank cards. 2 cards like that, and a third which is still stuck on the bank mail where the confidential code, and that is one of the elements that allows her to say, "It's weird, I know my boss, he doesn't let this kind of document hang." Indeed, Sarah knows that Jean-Marc would never hang his bank cards on his office. She therefore concludes that something serious is happening at her boss' house and that she must beware of Dominique. And there is one last element that will give her reason. On Jean-Marc's property, in the cabin, where he leaves his things, he also keeps his motorcycle. A brand new motorcycle that Jean-Marc had just bought. A magnificent motorcycle, a big cylinder. And there, the door of the cabin is open, which never happens, and above all, the motorcycle has disappeared. According to Sarah, Jean-Marc Brunel, very proud of his motorcycle, would never have agreed to separate from it. Everything leads to believe that Dominique would have gotten rid of it. With the testimony of the housewife, the police now have the conviction that Dominique is at the origin of the disappearance of her brother Cadet, and that it is at the home of the latter that it all took place. In the afternoon of October 28, 2015, the investigators searched the villa of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. The living room has gone to the bottom, and it is precisely in this room that they will detect an element that leaves little hope of seeing Dominique Brunel alive again. We see aureoles on the walls, on the door frames. Small brown spots that have been partially cleaned. Badly cleaned, but cleaned. And quite quickly, they will determine that these are blood stains. The analysis will confirm that it is indeed the blood of Jean-Marc Brunel. They will actually find a blood stain on the tiles. They will find blood on the chimneys. When we see so many traces of blood, we inevitably think that there was something, that there was a violent attack, at least something of a great violence. Judicial information for voluntary homicide is open. So what happened in Jean-Marc Brunel's house? Was it the theater of a barbaric murder? You will see that the key to the mystery is actually hidden under the eyes of the investigators. In Châteauneuf-du-Pape, for days after the beginning of this mysterious case, all the relatives of Jean-Marc Brunel are summoned to the gendarmerie. And it is precisely behind these walls that a scene will take place to freeze the blood. Here is Jeremy Martinez. He is not ready to forget this day. This 32-year-old Mason was also summoned to be heard. Because with his workers, he has been doing work for 10 days at Jean-Marc Brunel's neighbor's house. The gendarmerie made me sit down. They told me to wait. So I go in, I settle down. To my right, a couple of elderly people. It is pure chance that the Mason will sit either next to Jean-Marc's parents. Jeremy Martinez does not know at this moment that he is sitting next to the parents of the missing person. They too have been summoned by the gendarmes. And they also do not know all the latest developments of the investigation. The Mason does not know why he is there. He knows nothing. So he discusses with the old lady next to him. He said to me, "I don't understand why I was called to the police today." And I said, "My son has disappeared in this case for 15 days and we are looking for him." And when Irene gives the address of her son's house, the Mason is tilted in his mind. He says, "But I went there, in this house." The lady next to me asks me the question, "Have you seen my son?" And I said, "Yes, we worked at his house." But the person that Jeremy Martinez met is actually not Jean-Marc, but Dominique, his elder brother. And the Mason has told Irene Brunel an episode that happened only a few days ago. An episode particularly sordid. A person came to see us, the neighbor, and asked us what we were doing, to know if we were going to pour concrete. I told them, "You don't have a few cubic meters of concrete that would stay there? I need to bleed the bottom of my well there." Petrified, Irene begins to see the horrible truth. I said, "But what did you do?" And I said, "Well, we were going to put a little concrete in his well." And there, this lady started crying. But then, it was unimaginable to see her like that, her husband comforting her. And then I said to myself, "Did you say something stupid, or did I answer?" Jean-Marc is no longer there. Irene is devastated. She just realized that the body of her beloved son is probably resting at the bottom of her well. The gendarmes then rushed to Jean-Marc's home to verify the information of the mason. Operations are then undertaken to probe the bottom of the well. And as soon as he begins to break this well and break the concrete slab, they will smell the characteristic smell. And there, they will discover a tarp in the ground, in the gravel. It is a mortar bag, a mortar cover with a lightning lock. They open this lightning lock. They are born in the presence of a human body. The gendarmes are faced with a scene worthy of a true polar. This is Jean-Marc Brunel's body, in a state of advanced decomposition. This corpse has his hands tied in his back with 4 serflex, and on his head a garbage bag tied to his neck. And according to the results of the autopsy, the victim lived the horror. Jean-Marc presents 5 wounds on the back of his head. 5 blows. It's a very serious problem for a contendent object, probably an iron bar or a baseball bat, we don't really know. But it's not the cause of death. The cause of death is actually asphyxia. And since he has a plastic bag tied around his head, we imagine that he suffocated at that moment. Jean-Marc Brunel has lived a slow agony. And for the investigators, the person responsible for this barbaric execution could be his older brother, Dominique. But then, why would he have savagely murdered his cadet? A question to which only the fugitive could answer. Problem: Dominique is still on the run in Panama. While waiting to be able to lay hands on Dominique, the investigators in charge of the case seek to establish a mobile to what seems to be a sordid fratricide. And it is by digging into the past of the fugitive that they will discover that Dominique, who had big financial problems for years, was constantly turning to his parents to get money. Many objects were missing from the home of her boss. And precisely, the investigators went back to the track of several of them, including the motorcycle. The investigators discovered that Jean-Marc's motorcycle was sold on Le Bon Coin for the coquette sum of 11,000 euros. All the sums put together, we are on a total sum of about 20,000 euros with the sale of the bike. I don't know what Dominique would have done if no one had intervened. He would probably have done a lot of things. He might have put the house up for sale. He might have gotten a loan on the house. I don't know what he would have been able to do. For the investigators, no more doubts possible, it is the financial mobile that would be at the origin of this crime. They then have only one idea in mind, to find Dominique Brunel so that they can explain themselves. Unfortunately, the Panamanian authorities do not seem to be in a hurry to cooperate. Weeks, months pass, but still no arrests. An unbearable wait for Irene and Michel Brunel. Brunel's parents are desperate because they would really like their son Dominique to be arrested. I would have had a few years less and I would have left. I would have gone to get him. It was something very important for us. I'm sorry to say it, but we wanted him to be arrested to be punished for what he had done. In October 2016, 1 year after the death of Jean-Marc, the parents decide to take action. With the help of their lawyers, they organize a press conference to alert the public opinion and tell their story. The police and the justice do not like too much that we talk about them. We wanted to put a little pressure. If they hadn't done something, I would have spoken. And against all odds, this media blow will end up paying off. By chance or not, a month later, Dominique Brunel was indeed arrested by the authorities in Panama and put in prison. Very rare. The Panamanian authorities agreed to extradite Dominique Brunel on December 17, 2016. The man will have to explain himself. Will he confess the crime? Is he really the murderer of his brother, as his parents think? On February 14, 2017, almost a year and a half after the murder of Jean-Marc Brunel, Dominique, his brother, is heard by the judge of instruction in Haviland. And to everyone's surprise, the man does not deny the facts. But he will deliver a very different version of the findings of the investigation. Dominique continues his story by explaining that he then put his brother in a morgue. Then, with a pulley, he made the body disappear at the bottom of the well. Everything in this story makes you think of a perfect crime scenario. However, Dominique continues to claim to the judge that it was an accident. At no time did he want to kill his brother, Jean-Marc. However, there is overwhelming evidence. Because thanks to the results of the blood tests carried out on the victim, it is now established that Jean-Marc Brunel was actually drugged before he died. Jean-Marc Brunel ingested a large amount of melatonin. Melatonin is a substance created by the body that facilitates sleep. And we realize that Jean-Marc has a melatonin level in his body that is much higher than normal, many times higher, but much, not a little bit more. He necessarily absorbed, by force, hidden melatonin. Jean-Marc would therefore have been drugged by his older brother, Dominique. And that's not all. 2 purchases made by Dominique on the internet more than a month and a half before his crime suggest that the older brother of the Brunels would have premeditated his action. The first is the purchase of 2 bottles of melatonin. And the second, more overwhelming, dead skin. So, inevitably, it raises the question of premeditation. Because buying dead skin before going to his brother's, it's still not common. On December 19, 2016, Dominique is put on trial for the murder of her brother. And while this case seems finally resolved, you will discover that beyond the financial mobile, this sordid crime could actually hide a terrible family revenge. While Dominique Brunel is incarcerated awaiting his trial, the conclusions of the psychiatric expertise reveal the genesis of this terrible fratricide. Because the origin of evil could be hidden in the childhood of the 2 brothers. We are in this concept of a spoiled son and, on the other hand, a rejected son. A bit like Abel and Carmen. A feeling of daily rejection that Dominique, the elder, speaks of as a trauma. At the level of the child, it was explained to me that, for example, he, during the school holidays, had to go to the Scouts, while, surprisingly, Jean-Marc stayed with his parents. Jean-Marc was too attached to me, I know that. I tried to put him in a confinement during the holidays. But he was unhappy, like everything else. I never saw him again. They didn't have the same character, not at all. Differences in treatment that would have created in Dominique a strong feeling of jealousy towards his brother, but also a terrible resentment towards his parents. A resentment that would reach its peak in January 2014. That day, Dominique receives a letter signed by his father, Michel. A letter, at least, disconcerting. Because, for the first time in his life, Michel Brunel addresses his son by seeing him. By force of pulling on the rope, it breaks. Bravo, you have been unable to work to earn your living. You have betrayed your parents. On the other hand, you are very brilliant to dilapidate your fortune. You have signed the termination of any relationship with your parents. There are limits to not cross. So, goodbye. I did something that I think every parent should do with their children. One day, you have to draw a conclusion. It is obvious that the conclusion I drew did not please him, because I was telling him the truth. According to psychiatrists, this letter could be the trigger of the terrible tragedy that affected the Brunel family. He explains that it was extremely violent for him because he never had a sign before, he never had an explanation with his parents. He would have wanted to be able to discuss with his parents, and that when he received this letter, it was quite an important shock. It is the worst rupture that can exist in the world. It is not a sentimental rupture of a husband who leaves his wife or a wife who leaves her husband. It is a rupture of parents who leave their children. He is repudiated. He did the most terrible thing he could do. He knew very well that if he killed his brother, he would kill me. And the horror of the horror, the best way to take revenge on someone is not to kill him. To kill him, he dies in a few seconds. It's to make him suffer. He has shifted to another world. He is no longer with us. He is elsewhere. I do not know where he is, but in any case, he is no longer there. The third day of the trial, already very tested by the behavior of their son, Mr. and Mrs. Brunel must now express themselves. It is Michel, the father, who will begin. Michel Brunel gets up to go to the bar. For the first time, he does not take his cane. He says he will make it. We offer him a seat, he refuses. He says it will go. I had not prepared anything at all, of course. I did the course again of our two children, of our two sons, until the moment when I had no more. And I stopped. He collapses, because for him it is really too hard, because it is not a son that he lost, it is still painful. And above all, it is something unusual to find one of his children behind bars. It is a terrible position for parents. I think there is no worse trial than this trial. And when Irene Brunel arrives at the bar, the court holds its breath. The old lady only has one goal, to convince the court that her eldest son Dominique has premeditated his gesture to get more and more money. And here's what she declares. I raised two boys. Of the two, I have no one left because of the two sons. I had an angel and a demon. A demon who never had enough money to pay me. And his look, his attitude, it was strong, it was violent. And I felt all the distress that a mother could have by saying to herself, it's my son, it's me who put him in the world, it's my dear. At the end of this trial, Dominique Brunel is sentenced to 30 years in prison. A criminal sentence. A short-term relief for his parents. Because Dominique immediately called for this decision. He is therefore presumed innocent, but remains incarcerated awaiting this second trial. Michel and Irene Brunel have since returned to Alicante. At 91 and 95, they will have to face a new trial for this tragedy that has ruined the last years of their lives. I only ask one thing, that it unblocks, that we pull the curtain and that we try to be able to live a little bit. And then I expect nothing. I expect to go to Jean-Marc's house and that's all. Thank you for listening to the second part of this episode of La Cour d'assises d'Appel du Gard. In October 2020, La Cour d'assises d'Appel du Gard sentenced Dominique Brunel to life imprisonment. Do not hesitate to subscribe to this podcast to receive a new episode. See you soon.